Sorry about that. I didn't realize I had everybody on mute. Let me back up here. I'm showing slides and technical malfunction on my own part. The brand king, Mutual of Omaha. It's one that everybody knows. We really feel like it's the best combination of carrier and product available in the industry. All right. Mutual of Omaha also has a continuing role as a product innovator. That's not insignificant because the cash benefit we're going to talk about here in a minute, that's a part of that product innovation. And another part we're going to talk about today is these increased inflation option choices that you have available for your clients. It's also worth noting still A+ superior, which is really good with AM Best, and a 91 Comdex rating. Okay, the story of claims time, also significant. Was talking, before I realized I was talking to myself, I was talking about this young man who had cancer. He used the benefits to have his family with him at MD Anderson down in Houston while he was undergoing treatment. He lived in the Midwest. He was able to bring his young wife and their 2 kids down there to be with him while he was undergoing the treatment. And the nice part about it is it lets the client decide what's important for them and what they need within that care spectrum, if you will. The other thing about cash that's important is noted, you could be looking at potentially a $40,000 swing in your client's favor in that first 3-month period of time, because instead of spending money on the elimination period, they're getting a cash benefit that they can use as they see fit. And for those of you who purchase your long-term care policy, your individual policy, prior to the availability of the Gold product and now the Custom Solution product, think about what you would do if you had the opportunity to buy over. I would hazard a guess that you would buy a cash plan. Okay, so now we alluded to this a minute ago, inflation options. We call it take your pick. We now have lower inflation points, lower increments, and capped options available to help you get your clients to the point where they can afford to do something now. They feel like it's affordable enough to do something now rather than wait and gamble that they will still be healthy down the road. All right, points. All right, 1 point difference, let's say from 4 to 3. It's about a 26% difference in premium. And it's worth noting that we now go all the way down to 1% compound, and in most states, those are partnership approved, okay? 18% of our current sales are either FPO or no inflation, which tells us your clients are going to be comfortable buying 2% or 1% because a lot of them are buying no inflation now because of pricing concerns, all right? Any of our inflation options other than 5% lifetime, they all come with the guaranteed upgrade option, only available on the custom product. That option expires after a 20-year period of time or age 75, whichever is earlier, okay? And if you I've actually spoken personally to agents who have written 1%. It is happening out there. That inflation, that 1% inflation, that will increase benefits by 1/3 in 30 years. Okay, and we know a little something about how this works. We actually introduced the 3% concept into the long-term care marketplace about 15 years ago. Everybody laughed at us. They assured us that the agents would never change their behavior and that 3% compound wouldn't work. Well, now here we are in 2004, and what do you suppose agents are selling? 3% compound. Okay, it will work. 2% will work, 1% will work. When you need it, you now have it available. Okay, now the 26% premium differential here told us that we needed to have a little bit more flexibility. All right, and so what we did is we brought in quarter-point increments. We used to have half-point increments, now have quarter-point. A quarter point is worth about 6.5% in premium. All right, on an average couples sale, which is around $4,600 right now, that 6.5% is $300 a year. All right, a half-point change is nearly $600 a year. With the average lifespan of a policy moving towards 30 years, that $600 a year results in an $18,000 premium savings. The one thing that we've learned from agents along the way, because they've done so much and been so successful with these alternative inflation options, the 5% 20-year and 3%, et cetera, is that the clients are comfortable with something less than 5%. They're comfortable with capped options, and we'll talk about those in a moment, because they know that they're going to save money along the way. You are offering them the opportunity to not have to cut their starting monthly benefit to reduce their premium. Increments. Okay, just a quick example of how the increments can work for you. This is a typical $4,500 a month policy with a $170,000 pool on a 60-year-old client. All right, the old 3%, or 3% now, is $4,021. Okay, the 2.5% is $3,647 combined premium. So you're looking at, you know, $350 for all intents and purposes in this case, and it is partnership eligible in most states. All right, reasonable savings. You still are able to ring the partnership bell. It's the kind of thing that will get your clients leaning in. So now the third of these choices are the capped options. Okay, we've had 20-year for forever. We've introduced the 15-year and the 10-year. Okay, and they're available on all of the custom inflation options. I would encourage you to take a look at the software, particularly the pick inflation button. I'm not going to go there now, but take a look at our software and see, and it's going to give you a very concise explanation of how your particular clients fit into the partnership scenario in your state. It's going to tell you what ages and what options are partnership approved. Very important to note that the guaranteed upgrade option, okay, that is available on all of these. And again, that guaranteed upgrade option is available until they are 75 years old or until they have owned the policy for 20 years, whichever of those two things comes first. Okay? All right. Pricing differential on caps, as you can see here. You're looking at $550 or so on the 20-year cap and $1,000 a year on the 15-year cap. Okay? Meaningful savings, the kind of thing that's going to get folks leaning in your direction, and that's the whole idea here. Also worth noting, I want to back up here for just a second. Also worth noting, one of the things that you can do if you're in a partnership state and your option doesn't partnership comply, you can do what they call selling into partnership. Your client can purchase now below the partnership threshold and then use the upgrade option to get themselves to a point where their inflation option is partnership approved based on their entry age, okay? Based on their entry age. We have been told by states, Idaho is the only exception at this time, we have been told by multiple states that it's the inflation option that the client has at the time that they go on claim that matters. All right, Idaho may come in line, but the inflation option that they have available to them at the time they go on claim, that's what matters. Okay, a couple of other things just to think about. All right, when you're having a conversation with your clients, number one, manage expectations. All right. Any plan is a good plan at the end of the day because it gives them the opportunity to have some resources available that they're not going to otherwise. Okay? Stress that. Any plan's a good plan. We firmly believe that. Don't let people who are not in the room with you and your clients dominate the conversation. Establish very quickly and very early whether they have been talking about long-term care to anybody else. Not just a representative like yourself, family members, maybe their attorney, whoever. Find out if they've been having these conversations, find out what they believe that they've learned, find out what their hot buttons are. That will enable you to address those and move forward in a way, since you're there to problem solve with your clients, all right, it lets you move forward in a way to help them with that. And that sort of transitions to the next piece. When you're having this conversation, focus on the product's availability to solve problems. Don't bury them with a lot of details and a lot of statistics. For most of the clients you're ever going to work with, talking about long-term care is a little bit like talking about internal combustion engines. It has the capability of really just sort of freezing them in the headlights because they're, you know, for us it seems very simple, but at the end of the day they're trying to digest a lot of information in a hurry. All right, so now going back, another opportunity that we've had some agents begin to really have success with is this idea of front load, okay? And the idea on the front load really centers on the whole idea that 3% compound is now the dominant inflation option right here, okay? 3% compound takes 24 years to double, all right? The average purchase age right now is around 58 years old. That means your client's benefits are going to double, but it's going to take 24 years. So you got two ways to do this, as you can see. You can sell them the typical, and this is, you know, what most of what we're seeing coming across the transom. $4,500 a month, pool of 170 with 3% compound. It's around $4,000. Or you can just give them the whole shooting match right now. Pool of 350, $9,000 monthly benefit without inflation. It's a couple $100 more, but it does two important things. It makes crystal clear exactly what your clients have because they have it right now. There's not any confusion. There's not, you know, people focusing on, okay, in 20 years I'm going to have whatever, whatever. Now, they understand exactly what they've got. Everybody does. And perhaps most importantly, it also takes what we call the intermediate risk off the table. And the intermediate risk is that something's going to happen to your client who buys at 58. It's going to happen when they're 74, not 82, when they know their benefits will double. If you use the front load, they've got access to the totality of their benefits when you back out of the driveway, when you complete that sales appointment. That is significant, okay? The intermediate risk also, and not inconsequentially, thing that is driving rate increases right now is inflation and the damage that inflation and being upside down with regard to that has done to carrier investment portfolios, which are a big part of how they maintain their book of business, all right? When the LTCi 9 product, the Assured Solutions Gold, when the rates refreshed on that product in 2012, the 3% compound went up about 25%. Guaranteed purchase option, which was the no inflation option, at that point in time, it went up 3%. The one thing you can do that we believe will best insulate your clients from the ravages of rate increases is going to be to keep them out of the gun sights right there, the gun sights of inflation, okay? So just another opportunity, but if you really want to get somebody leaning in, start talking about a $9,000 pool of money that they've got access to right now. You will have their attention, okay? Also worth noting, as we continue to look for new sweet spots for you to work with, married couples age 65 and over, the prices have actually gone down, okay? There seems to be a thought process out there. It's not the prevailing wisdom by any stretch of time. It's the spot process that the rates have gone, quote unquote, through the roof. And nothing could be further from the truth. When you look at married couples 65 years and older, again, the prices are down. All right, single males age 47 and above and married one at age 45 and above. Those prices are level, and in some cases, they're actually down, okay? And we stress this because it continues the tradition that we have of this value rate combination. That's significant, you know, in the eyes and in the mind of your clients. Okay, and again, we talked about selling into partnership. Right now, Idaho is the only exception at this particular point in time. The clients can purchase below the partnership threshold in their state and then buy in at a later point in time. Software. Our very, very dynamic mutual care solutions software is available. You can download it at the website you see right there in front of you. There are many new nifty things that have been made available to us within the framework of this software, and I would encourage you to go out and take a look. We'll do a webinar here in March that really spends some time in the software. But one of the things agents asked us about a lot on this, the older platform, and it's a new button that actually sits right up here on the Mutual Care Custom, is there's a button that tells you whether the software version is current or not. So you'd never have to worry about your software, for whatever reason, being out of date. As soon as you log in, if you have internet availability, it's going to do a web call. It's going to get out there and check, and if it's not current, it's going to tell you. And then you can take just a couple of minutes and download the new version and then move forward, because we still, with the trailing states in the old product, we still have folks sending in business where they haven't ever bothered to check and see whether gold is still available, and they haven't paid attention to the dozens and dozens of notifications that we've sent out. And we get an app a month probably from, a state that already has the new product, still trying to work the old product. And needless to say, that doesn't work. So, and that concludes our program. Again, I apologize for the technical issue. And what I'm going to do here is take a minute right now, and I'm going to unmute folks so that we can have a conversation about the different things that we've talked about here. What do we got? Give me a second. Unfortunately, I can't command unmute everybody, so I have to go through and do this individually. Everybody that's eligible looks like they have been unmuted, so I think this is probably, late. Refreshments, no refreshments today. Appreciate the thought on that. All right, so let's take some questions here about the Custom Solutions product, its applications, what you can do with it, anything else that we covered today. Jensen, I know you're out there, and I know you spent some time with this. Anything you see here that you feel like you can really apply to what you're doing out there on a regular basis?
Well, I haven't necessarily said that. I can't necessarily say that it's convinced someone or made a sale yet, but the guaranteed inflation upgrade option is really a strong selling feature, I think.
Who do you have your long-term care with?
What do you mean, who do I have? Mutual of Omaha.
You have your personal long-term care with Mutual?
No, I have critical illness.
Okay. No LTC yet?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, what you talked about is one of many things that are important. It's one of the things that you can utilize to help your clients get positioned to, to move forward. Anybody out there with else out there with observations or thoughts about the different pieces that we covered here this morning? Well, Marilyn, I'd ask you, but you haven't set yourself to be able to be unmuted, so I can't do that. Jim Watts, what about you out there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Go ahead, Jim.
My question is, how are they in relationship price-wise to the market? I know it's not necessarily the most important part of an LTC package, but it is pertinent.
Sure. And the answer to that question would be they're not the lowest and they're not the highest. Okay, the market depends on who it is that you're talking about. If you want to talk about Genworth, it's more expensive than Genworth. Okay. If you want to talk about John Hancock, it's less expensive than John Hancock. We're about on par with MedAmerica. But I know the thing that you want to stress with your clients is the value of what they're paying for. Okay.
Right.
Our understanding is that Genworth is scrambling right now to try to get rates for Privileged Choice Flex 3 approved, because they don't feel as though the rates for PC Flex 2 in the states they have it in are the right rates at this particular point in time. And so let's just...
Yeah, I'm concerned about that. I put maybe 2 years ago, I wrote a Genworth on a couple that I know they're going to get a rate increase in 2 years. That's kind of stupid.
Sure. Well, let me... Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Mike.
I was going to say, think about this. If you're going to go buy a car, and the thing that you knew more than anything else was that, let's just call it option X, was available, but it was more expensive than in a car, but it was more expensive than a car without option X, would you spend the extra money if you felt like it was really important? And the reason I'm asking this is because if you do the education with your clients and get them to see the importance of cash, they're not going to care that it's a little bit more expensive, because they want to have the best option. and that one's the one that carries the day. I mean, we introduced this 15, 16 years ago with the old Aegon unit at Transamerica, Bankers Life, and what was the other one? Life Investors, okay, or Bankers United and Life Investors. So we've got some experience with this. To give you an idea on how important cash is, within the framework of about $800 million that we put up with the Aegon unit, we've got in the vicinity of 1,000 claims that have opened up, all right? Within that framework, for the clients where it was appropriate for them to go on cash to open with, and what I mean is you don't want to necessarily try to pull that off with somebody who's had a massive stroke and really needs to be confined, okay? But for somebody for whom it was appropriate to have access to cash, all right, 88% of those claims opened on cash. If they had a choice, they exercised the choice. Within that framework, and let's say for all intents and purposes it's 800 people, okay, 85% of those people are still on cash. The moral of the story, they found a solution that worked for them for the $4,200 cash benefit that was in their policy. Okay?
Right.
And most of those were sold at 5% compound because the market would bear it back in those days price-wise. And so, you know, the 2,400 they had at the start, it doubled. Boom. So now they're at 4,800, 5,000, whatever it is. They're able to make that work. Okay? If you can tell the cash story, you can really get your clients jazzed up and compelled. Everybody likes the idea of cash. Okay?
Right.
Other question, and I appreciate that. You have a follow-up question?
No, I just, whenever you start getting me talking about this, it's not just price, that's the underwriting, I guess, is the key.
You just hit it right on the head there. It's not the thing you want to do in this day and age is talk about the value of this.
Right.
Because remember, this is a pennies on the dollar proposition, okay?
Right.
It's if you look at it individually, I just was on the phone with somebody in Virginia this morning, and the premium, this is a relatively young potential purchaser, the premium for a $250,000 pool of money was under $2,000 for both the husband and the wife, all right? If you do the math, that is less than a penny on the dollar, okay? Think about it. If you owned a $250,000 house, a $250,000 house, the totality of your house payments every year would be more than $2,000. That's the value of long-term care. All right, they are buying access to a pool of, I'm using the $250,000 because that was the example I saw today. They're buying access to a pool of $250,000, and they're doing it for less than a penny on the dollar. That's what you stress. Go ahead.
Is that approximately what age were they?
It was 52 and 51, so a little bit
younger.
What
kind of inflation benefit?
3% compound.
Okay. Well, the people that I've talked with at nursing homes, and they say that it's at least a 4% is
Sure.
what is actually increasing. So,
and we can make 4% available. It's just that people tend to balk more at the 4% price than at the 3%. Truth be told, and
I know I've been selling the 3%, but I myself have the 5%, and
sure.
Hancock raised my price 23%, and then some of my clients who are in their 70s got a 76% increase. One got an 80% increase.
Mm-hmm.
I'll never sell Hancock again. I mean, that's just outrageous.
Right.
And so, but they, we cut back on the amount of. I didn't change my inflation. I just cut back on the year.
Right.
I had a 4-year, and I dropped it a little bit.
Right. Right. And that's what I think a lot of people are having to do right now in dealing with these big rate increases, and that's why we are, as we get farther into this and get a little better at it, we're trying to develop options that allow them to move without having to reduce the benefit. Because I think you're better off to reduce your inflation from 3 to 2.5 than to cut your pool of money from 300 to 250. So
see, I would argue the other way. I mean, I don't. I would rather have a short, fat benefit as opposed to a long one. 95% of the claims are under 5 years.
Sure.
And the inflation benefit is critically important, and you know, the average stays what, 2.5 years. Well, that means some people are staying 7 years, some people are staying 3 or 4 months, but if you really look at it, you're more likely to use your money if you have a shorter, fatter benefit. So I would rather have a 2-year benefit and have it cover the cost than have a long, lean benefit, and maybe you'll get Alzheimer's. But if you've got the partnership and you're single, well, they're going to guarantee you whatever amount that is, that pool of money, and you spend down to that level after you've got the Alzheimer's, well, you're still going to be able to leave $300,000 or $400,000 to somebody. And so to me, the odds are better doing that than going with the long and lean. But that's me.
Well, sure. And it's not that I'm not saying I disagree with you at all, but the bottom line is, at the end of the day, you want to make sure, you know, that your clients have something, because something, as I said in the beginning, is better than nothing. The one thing about the partnership, and this is, it's getting to be more and more of a bone of contention in regard to asset, or in relation to asset disregard. Remember this: because you can write a $50 a day benefit for 2 years and put the appropriate inflation option on it and have it be partnership certified, there is, you know, you run the very distinct risk of leaving your clients in a situation where they get to the end of their benefit pool and they want to know where their asset disregard is, but they have destroyed their personal assets to co-pay along the way, and so they don't have anything to disregard. So the one thing about partnership, which is a great idea and it's been a great conversation starter, is if you get them too far behind the cost curve at the start, their personal money is going to get chewed up pretty quickly moving through. So enough of an aside on partnership. Anybody else out there with questions this morning? Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and conclude things and let folks, we're right at about 30 minutes or so here, go ahead and conclude. So any other questions out there today? I can make the PowerPoint presentation available to anybody who would like it. Just email me, mike.anderson@whyaim.com. Anderson is S-O-N. Shoot me a quick note. I'll get you the slides and get those out of here to you this morning. And again, as I said, in March we will be having a webinar where we look more in depth at the software and some of the sales things that you can do with the software. I didn't really want to get bogged down with that here. It's a piece of it, but it's not the totality of the conversation. So one more time, questions here this morning? Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and turn everybody loose and let them get out there and start selling some long-term care. Okay. Well, then, as they say in the movie business, that's a wrap. Thanks, everybody, for your time. I'm going to go ahead and